A big part of private relief for Puerto Rico is coming from hip-hop superstars and their followers. You're about to find out how hip-hop humanitarians are leading the way.
Mi gente, I need everybody to come together. It's a major crisis.
Hip-hop superstar Fat Joe's From the Heart message asking for help for hurricane-ravaged Puerto Rico was met with an overwhelming response.
Update, if you're getting a phone call, if someone you know is trying to bring donations, the line is so long. Tell your friends to please be patient.
In the Bronx, a 5-hour donation drive organized by Borough President Diaz Jr., with Fat Joe picking up the tab for shipping, turned into a 24-hour affair.
It showed the force and the strength of hip-hop, and I'm so proud and thankful to Fat Joe, to Jay-Z, to Remy Ma, and all of those who were able to come together to help the people of Puerto Rico during this time of pain, suffering, and crisis.
Behind the water, there's canned goods, there's diapers, there's feminine products.
The turnout and the amount of supplies was overwhelming. Jay-Z paid for a plane to take the donations to the island, but one wasn't enough, so he added 4 more. He got Tidal Music involved in a big way by sponsoring a major drive at the Barclays Center. It brought volunteers, Army National Guard, and the music industry together for a good cause.
It's only right that you give back to the same people that are your fans and that support you, and you reach out and, get people to help support them when they need it.
Recording artist Lumidee told me she spent every summer with family in Puerto Rico, and that she's proud to see the surge of help and assistance, which now totals £3 million from the city. She believes Fat Joe's involvement convinced many to give what they could.
This is only the beginning. They're going to be in trouble for a very long time, and they're going to need help.
Let's take it to our panel and find out what's really being done. Joining me right now, Diaz Jr. He's the Bronx Borough President. He's been leading the Puerto Rico effort. Ruben, thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Lisa. Good to be back.
We really appreciate it. Also with us is Melissa Quesada. She's the Director of Latino Affairs for Governor Cuomo. Melissa, thank you for being with us.
Great to be here. Thanks.
We appreciate it. Also with us is Joel Ortiz. He's a hip-hop artist, and he's also been leading the relief efforts on the part of he's one of many artists, but he's been leading his own efforts on the part of the hip-hop community for Puerto Rico. Joel, great to have you on.
Thanks for having me.
Ruben, I want to start with you in terms of, give us the big picture here of what's happening.
Well, the big picture is that it's been 2 weeks now, over 2 weeks, and the people in Puerto Rico are still in pain. There are many who are sick, who are injured, who are suffering, and yes, there are people who are dying. And what we need now is to come together where everyone is playing their role. And here, certainly in the state of New York, from the Governor Andrew Cuomo has been tremendous with the National Guard, but also on the ground, the response to this, this enormous crisis has been enormous itself. The diversity is something that's really warmed my heart, Lisa, and part of that diversity that I think and that should not be overlooked is how the hip-hop community has also been a part of it. So we've had everything from Christians and Jews and Muslims and Hindus and young and old and poor and rich, but to have the hip-hop community respond in the way that they did, I'm so proud of these efforts. More needs to be done, but certainly it shows that during times of crisis, we see the very best of humanity, and we've seen that at every level and throughout all of the spectrum of the community here in the city and in New York State and beyond.
Joel, we've seen a lot of hip-hop embrace a variety of causes, some social causes, some social justice causes, but I've never seen anything like this in terms of straight-up bodies and people actually doing things.
No, it was amazing. I had an event at Norwin's Bar in Bushwick, Brooklyn, and it was just a neighborhood, person, ear to mouth, mouth to ear, come on down, whatever you have, we'll take, just help out. And we ended up with 7 15-footers full of water, food, diapers, batteries, and it's just a local bar. Like, everybody showed up. Like, there was such a sense of, like, whatever you need in the air. It was amazing. And friends of mine that I haven't seen in a while came out. Speedy from La Mega, and Assemblywoman Maritza de Villa, and community activist Sonia Velasquez, and just so many people were just there. Like, what else do you need? Like, everybody was in sweatpants and sneakers, ready to work. It wasn't a photo op thing.
It wasn't that.
Right. It was just like, what else? Sweat. Here you go. You need help with this, and it was just like, it's amazing to see how many people showed up.
Why do you think people responded in the hip hop community the way they did? Because you're used used to promoting stuff, and a lot of times you have to go like, here, come on out, this is really important. And this was the exact opposite. Every single drop-off site in the city was overwhelmed.
Well, hip-hop is the voice of the struggle, and Puerto Rico's struggling. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it was it was a natural thing for anybody that comes from, you know, poverty to help anybody that's going through something. You know what I mean? So it wasn't like a push. I didn't have to, like, when I mentioned it to people, they were just like, all right, cool, what time and where? And it was just, you know, it was open arms. Like, what can we do? Hip hop, you know, we all come from the street, the blocks. Puerto Rico is, you know, I've been to La Pela. That's like, that's it. You know, that's what we represent. You know what I mean? So it wasn't a hard push. It wasn't
at all. Melissa, give us an idea of what the governor's office has been doing in terms of the Puerto Rico relief effort, because you guys have been involved in so many of these things from day one.
Yeah, so I think the governor really understood from the beginning that the relationship between Puerto Rico and New York is one that's been long-standing, right? This is not just our distant neighbor. Puerto Rico is family to New York. They're outside of the island of Puerto Rico. New York has the largest population of Puerto Ricans. The governor has the most constituencies of Puerto Ricans that are here outside of Puerto Rico. And so this is family, right? These are people who are brothers, sisters, mothers, aunts, uncles, cousins to people that are in New York. So the hurricane hit September 20th. On the 22nd, that Friday, the governor was on the first plane out to Puerto Rico, bringing aid and doing a damage assessment with Governor Rosselló in Puerto Rico. And since then, through our partnerships with JetBlue, Delta, UPS, we've been able to do on a rolling basis to get supplies out. I have to say that the outpouring, as both Borough President Diaz said and Joel said, that the outpouring has been tremendous. All of our 13 locations across the state, drop-off sites across the state, have been filled to capacity. To date, New York has been able to send 107 National Guards, 60 National Guard soldiers, 4 Black Hawk helicopters, 50 state troopers, 70 Port Authority personnel that are helping to work at the airports and the ports in Puerto Rico, 20 NYPA, New York Power Authority personnel that were there to help get the power infrastructure back up, and 2 drones, 2 drone pilots that are able to fly drones throughout the island. And that's just in personnel. That doesn't include the nearly 150,000 bottles of water that we've gotten down, 17,000 packs of wipes.
I mean, the numbers are staggering.
Let me just say this. The leadership that Governor Cuomo has shown has been nothing less than extraordinary here. He has allowed for us on the ground level to have that infrastructure to be able to reach out to our community. So last Saturday, while Joel Ortiz and Brooklyn stepped up big in the Bronx, for instance, we were on Southern Boulevard. Thanks to Fat Joe, what we wanted to do is start off with 3 or 4 containers that we would ship over there and 2 trucks to Mexico. We wanted to help our Mexican brothers and sisters. What happened on Saturday was amazing, where we had over 11 18-wheelers, we had 4 containers, we had 5 trucks from a moving company, and just when we didn't have enough trucks, we reached out to the governor, we reached out to Melissa. She was out there all day with us, with other personnel, and we had over 40 National Guard trucks. We didn't stop packaging and transporting things off the street until 12 noon the next day. And then just on this last point, a lot of that had to do with the Instagram and social media. I hope that people realize that when you use it for good, the information that we got out there now, all we were trying to do was to fill up a plane with 200,000 pounds of food and material. We collectively, and yes, the hip-hop community was very much a part of that. We have over 3 million pounds right now. And so now there's this whole effort not to collect items, but to try to collect funding so that we can have enough C-130s to send them over there.
Amazing.
That's unbelievable. And there was the Bronx in the Hot 97, a big show up. TT Torres.
Old man Ebro. Whoever calls him old man from now on, they did not see the energy
in
for
action.
I mean, for 10 hours he was out there. Laura Stiles, TT Torres, the entire Hot 97, Funkmaster Flex. The Hot 97 was out there in full force. And you know what? When you look at media, it's one thing to allow for us to get the information out, and we appreciate that. To cover the event, and we appreciate appreciate that. But when you get the personnel, when you get the higher echelon of the producers to come out and roll up their sleeves and get their hands dirty and
that sends a real message to everybody.
That's a whole different ballgame.
All right, this is Street Soldiers. I'm your host, Lisa Evers. We're talking about helping Puerto Rico and the hip-hop response. Hip-hop Humanitarians. We'll be back right after this.
People still waist deep. You know, old people are unable to get their medicine, and I mean, in the UK, the rainforest is now brown.
Melissa, tell me about the political situation with Puerto Rico, because a lot of people, I was on some of the social media going, our fellow Americans, it's not a separate country. There are certain misconceptions that people have about the island. Have those hindered relief efforts in any way, or the dialogue, do you think?
I don't think that, in the sense of the response from New York, it absolutely hasn't hindered the relief effort in any way. I think maybe in the general dialogue and the larger context, we have to understand that Puerto Rico is an island of 3.4 million American citizens. They're not a state, they're a territory, but they are all the same U.S. citizens, and that means that they're entitled to the same rights and reliefs that a state would be. So the same way that Florida or Texas were able to get assistance, Puerto Rico is also entitled to that same assistance.
So we saw some of that play out. To be frank, when you look at the hesitation in response, while there were FEMA and U.S. military on the ground early on, it just wasn't enough, Lisa. If you look at Katrina had 20,000 troops and over 200 helicopters almost immediately. They had a 5-star general. We didn't get a 3-star general until over a week afterwards. Unfortunately, you still have many members of Congress when we were calling for the suspension of the Jones Act, which is the law of 1920 that doesn't allow for foreign ships to come directly into U.S. soil, which would help. And now it's been suspended, but there was such a delay because members of Congress still had to be given a tutorial on Puerto Rico. Where was that? There were some members of Congress still asking Puerto Rican members of Congress, what was the currency there? And
what was
wow. Yeah, so and even now there was a recent poll that was done. I think over 52% of the people who were polled did not know that Puerto Ricans are actual American citizens. We have fought per capita than any other state. Dating back to since World War I, over 200,000 Puerto Ricans have died serving and protecting and defending this country. And so what we need now is for the United States to respond in a way where we're not asking for a handout. This is what we deserve. This is what other states get. This is what other foreign nations have gotten. They've gotten the full attention of the United States government. And so hopefully, as we move forward, that would be the case. Hopefully it's not too late.
Melissa, in terms of the governor's response, I know it's very extensive and it's been involved since the very, very beginning. How do you go about assessing what needs to be done? You know, in a situation like this where it's a real crisis, it's real time, and people are suffering right from the get-go. How do you even begin to assess that?
Right. Well, I think we have been in communication from the beginning with the governor's office, with Governor Rosselló in Puerto Rico, and have been working with them from the time that the governor went down and was there in the helicopter doing damage assessment to today. We're in constant communication with them to find out what the needs are, what the assessment is, and how we can help. We have sent down medical supplies. We have medical personnel at the ready should we need to send them down, and it's a constant communication with the governor of Puerto Rico to find out, you know, where they are at the moment and assist in any way that we can.
And Joel, you've been in Puerto Rico many times.
Yeah.
In terms of the lifestyle too, and who's there and the poverty, when something like this happens, you don't have a whole heck of a lot of options.
No, it's crazy. I mean, seeing some of the videos, people still waist deep. You know, old people are unable to get their medicine, and I mean, in the UK, the rainforest is now brown.
I want to talk about the culture, Joel.
Okay.
In terms of the Puerto Rican culture, a lot of what people know of the Puerto Rican culture is the Puerto Rican Day Parade. Is the music, is a few maybe Jennifer Lopez, Mark Anthony, and that's it. How do you see the Puerto Rican culture's influence on hip hop?
I mean, we've been there since hip hop's inception. The breakdance scene with Crazy Legs and everyone. DJ Tony Touch has been,
Charlie J.
Come on, I mean the list goes on. As a Puerto Rican born in New York, like, I'm just as much a New Yorker as I am a Puerto Rican, and I speak for a lot of us that are like, I don't, to be honest with you, like, my Puerto Rican, like, my Spanish is chapeado. That's what we call it. Like, I'm in and out, so I can't really speak it well. But I mean, my block, the dominoes are there on the milk crates. You know what I'm saying? We play lottery numbers that have nothing to do with New York Lotto. Like, we're a part of the neighborhood. Like, right. and it's a loving community. And hip hop, you know, what you gonna say, Ruben?
Yeah, we're interwoven. The hip hop community, the Puerto Rican community, and if you look at the island of Puerto Rico, Fat Joe said this once, that is provided so much joy for the world. So whether it's athletes, boxers, entertainers,
baseball players.
But also
vacations, amazing vacations.
But also, if you look at an offspring of hip hop, which is reggaeton. You know, you have Daddy Yankee. You have what Pitbull is not Puerto Rican, but what he does, and now he's known as Mr. Worldwide. Right. That's a derivative of hip hop, right? I mean, the hip hop is it comes from hip hop, and so I think that's the reason why, in a very strong, unequivocal way, hip hop responded in such a monumental form.
And also, too, let's talk about what Fat Joe did, because we know he's got a huge heart.
Joe's a savior.
I mean, he really, I think, got people thinking with some of his Instagram posts and everything that he's doing in terms of the relief efforts.
He's been extraordinary. He is a lifesaver. Joe has been an angel. I don't know how to go. I mean, he's earned his wings. I was with my dad, I remember 2 nights after the hurricane, and we were trying to organize. We were speaking of organizing what we were going to do on Southern Boulevard, but we didn't know how we were going to pay for the expenses. And we left off at 11:30 that night with a big doubt and a question mark. At 7 o'clock the next morning, I get a phone call unsolicited. It was Fat Joe saying, "Ruben, my people are dying. How can I help?" I explained it to him. Saturday on Southern Boulevard, he paid for all the expenses. He bought 2 generators for the hospital on Vieques, and he's currently now raising money with Tidal and Jay-Z and others to continue to buy airplanes, purchase airplanes, so that we could send the over 3 million pounds.
3 million pounds. Say that again. 3 million pounds.
People, let me just break this down if I can.
Go ahead, because that sounds like that's a lot.
A C-130 can only,
which is a military air transport plane.
Yes,
okay.
And so Tidal, thanks to Jay-Z and Fat Joe, they purchased one. We were worried. We were concerned that we couldn't fill up that one plane, which can carry 200,000 pounds. So the efforts on Saturday were also not only to get things to Mexico and get things on the containers, but also to try to fill up the Javits Center so that we can fill up that plane.
Right.
The clarion call, most of it by the hip-hop community, through Fat Joe, through sharing video, through social media. The clarion call was so loud, and the response was so immense, that we wind up in last weekend alone, throughout the city of New York, just the city of New York, 3 million pounds.
Big shout out to everyone that's been involved in all the relief efforts. There's so many people, so many organizations, and just across the board, but especially the hip hop community. This is one of those moments where we gotta say we're really proud of hip hop, and also hip hop's fanatic love affair with social media helped get the word out so fast too. So big shout out to everybody. Big shout out to my whole Hot 97 family for the big turnout in the Bronx, helping there, and of course Fat Joe, and my guests, my fabulous panel right here: Ruben Diaz Jr., Bronx Borough President; Melissa Quesada, Director of Latino Affairs for Governor Cuomo; and the one and only Joel Ortiz, hip-hop artist and hip-hop humanitarian.
Yeah,
there you go.
Thank you. All right.
There you go.
All right.
Anointed officially on Street Soldiers.
Got my hat. Thank you.
I want to thank you all for being with us for this episode of Street Soldiers. Remember, use your mind. It's your best weapon. I hope it's your only weapon. I'm Lisa Evers. Let's push for peace.